during that time, there came a summer, and I was running around. David Wells, where the hell did he go? David Wells. I was running around my hometown with all my friends. School was coming up. I didn't want to go back to Kinston. I said, yeah, friends over here, my driver's license, I work over here. I made the same. There's it go. Well, I failed English that year. I've never failed in my life. I had Mary Lee Hawthorne. And I think the only reason she passed people was getting the hell out of her class, because I don't think anybody ever got an A. But to make light of that, it was what it was. So I gave her a little bit of a hard time. But I had fun that year. And I'm going to tell you, anybody that's in my age bracket, when we grew up as teenagers, did we not have fun? And I'm going to tell you, if you sit here and tell me you didn't, you won't live in the same life I was, which up to God, none of y'all were. Because I was having fun, I promise you. If I died tonight standing right here on that stage, you know that I left here and I've had fun my entire life. I promise you. So, I changed schools. In school come that year, I went back to Dad. I said, can I go back to Kinston? He said, what's wrong, son? I said, well, I don't want to play with him. I said, I don't like playing at nothing. And I said, me and her just ain't gonna work. And he said, and? I said, Dad, there's so many girls in school. I can't keep my mind straight. And he looked square at me and he said, that's what I thought. Dude knew, but dude let me try it. And bless his heart for it, I like I said. But anyway, I went back to school a little bad. I went back to Kinston. But there came a time, I got my driver's license. And the first truck I had was a 1958 step-side Chevrolet Apache long bed. It was white. Had a push-button start in the floor. And let me tell you something. Dude brings this thing home and sets it there. He said, if you can drive it, you can have it. He said, I ain't going to show you how to do it. He said, I'm going to tell you. So we walked into the truck. He said, you know what the switch is, you know the gears. He said, that does the starter, that's, he goes through the whole thing. He said, good luck. I said, all right. In about 10 minutes, I had to go. And let me tell you, if you can start up, crank one of them with a choke and everything else at 16 years old, you patting that thing for every heartbeat you got in you, hoping it'll crank. And you get it and you go. And it was that bit of freedom that I had, knowing I had a driver's license on the truck. So, my cousins, bless their heart, Danny and Roy, Ronnie, the Red Rooster. And I called them old boys. I said, look, y'all ride the house. I need to go somewhere, but I want to drive my truck. Absolutely, they come ride. So this summer, I was getting ready to go back to school. Softball game going on in town. That's where everybody was in the summer, the softball game. Little girls running around in shorts, little stop. And I still stop. And so I'm in my pickup, pull up to the stop sign now. And this girl, and I'm not going to call her name, and we're friends to this day. We're still on, never dated. And I thought she was over my legs. And she run up there and she said, "You gonna take me riding in that truck?" I looked over my cousin. I said, "We on to something here, Jenny." I said, "I promise you." Well, I got rid of that truck. Got another one. I had a blue 65 Chevrolet. This is my pride and joy. I promise you it will. Well, I'm out on a date one night in my truck, and I pull up at the car wash in Victoria. That man sitting right there at the end of that table was Paul Brooks. That's one of my oldest friends in the world. He's known me since I was 12 years old. That's when we had the slow ride. Let me tell you, didn't nothing that Paul had was slow, I promise you. So, so I pulled up there one night. I had to get out in the truck. And I can't remember Big T closed at 11 o'clock at midnight when we were teenagers. I think it was midnight. Is that, do y'all know? What, 11? Okay. So I pull up there. Now, when I'm telling you timestamp, I'm telling you timestamp, okay? It is 10 minutes to 11. There's Paul. What's up, Brooks? Ain't nothing to it, brother. What's happening? I said, how's it going? He said, I'm a little bit hungry. Imagine that, me and Paul hungry. So I said, Paul, I said, I'm a little hungry too. I said, Paul, but ain't nothing, no. Paul said, yeah. Big T, though. I said, Paul, Big T is in Kimberly. This is 10 minutes till. Paul, we can get that. Give me a couple. Paul had a 69 Dodge RT worth 440. Let me explain something to you. I'm getting ready to tell you to speak life. I don't know how fast we were running when we came past Central, but we were running way faster when we come past the junior high. And we had to slow down because when you go up on top of that hill, that's a deadly curve right there. We get to the Big T, order, pull around, second one right behind that, and cut the light out. All in 10 minutes from Victoria, while changing cars, ordering, and getting to the one. Did anybody want to take a guess at how fast Paul Brooks was driving between Kimberly and Victoria? Would you even, do we even have an estimate, Brooks?
I'm a long-minded citizen.
So again, I'm finding this need for speed. You know, and I can't help it. I like it. So I blew the motor up my blue truck. My daddy wouldn't let me put a V8 in it. He made me put that little 6 on the back in there. But I went to a friend of mine and I said, look, Daddy won't, throw the store. I said, look, I've got to have this thing built. He said, I got you. And I knew when Cecil Murray told me he had me, he had me. So I go pick the truck up and I asked old Cecil, I said, look, what I need to do to break this thing in? How long do I need? I want to make sure I do this motor right. He said, you back it right out there in the street and you do whatever's going to do because she's going to fly sitting right there. What did I do? I backed right there in the street and let her ass go. And she was ready, let me tell you something. A little bit too ready. And I told Cecil, I said, you can't tell my nigga what we do. I said, he would put a stop to this. Well, so I'm working at United Motor Parts in Victoria. Police department's right next door, little alley. I'm on my blue 65. I think it's nice. So I pull up there to the stoplight, and I'm messing with the radio or something. I don't know, paying attention. And by that time, my foot slipped off the clutch, and when it did, I off the top. Well, here come our police chief that time, and I'm not going to call his name. Here he comes. David Wells said that I didn't. so I go on to, So I'm up at the courthouse that weekend. This happened during the week. This is the weekend. Saturday night, I parked up at the gas pump, getting gas, and I'm pointing towards Victoria. I need to go back towards Chase City. Here comes David. Let me tell you something about barking them tires, boy. I'm gonna write a damn ticket. I said, lay right on the damn ticket you want, I don't care. And he just, command. I said, and furthermore, you ain't got a damn thing to do with Larryburg courthouse officer. So I didn't embarrass him a little bit. He wouldn't admit it, but I know it did. So I go on there and get the truck. The country store is full of spectators. All the crowd. 10, 12 of them sitting out there. Well, David Wells, he can whoop your ass. So anyway, here comes Jay. He's still barking a little bit, So I get right there and the road just right there. I holler up there, and I didn't call him David then. Jay! He looked over and I said, you say I burned tires the other day? He said, damn right you burnt tires. I said, let me show you how to burn tires. I burnt that thing up. I was sideways in the road going down to the East Steady Hall. Well, that didn't go over very well when I had to go back to Victoria because he followed me around like a puppy dog. just waiting for me. But, so, here we go. So I leave the house one night and I wash my truck every night. Friday night, Saturday night, my truck is clean, back to day. When it's done, I'm clean. And I ain't leaving till that's done. Well, I was late for a date over delay. So I leave the house, going up there toward Chase City. Get around that first curve up in the quarter, get in the home straightaway. I'm running probably 70, 75 miles an hour. And I get on up there and I look back in the rear view mirror and I see the front end of Herman Vick's Burgundy Crown, Burgundy Caprice. I said, this is not gonna be good. So I went, I'm steady going on, and I noticed Herman just steady coming. And I get there, baby, when you drop off down to the bridge, and I said, I've had enough, I got to go. I let it rip, I come down there, and when we cross the bridge, there's a damn dirt road right there, turn to the right. You go up like that, you go up a hill, and you come back down, and you go around this curve. Well, baby, that curve right there, I lost it. I spun around in the road, I was pointing back where I come from. I said, I got to go. I dumped in, went back where I come, my parents turned the neck on the other side of the hill. I hit 40 up there sideways, never stopped, got out of town. So I said, whew, got through that. Well, I thought I had got through that. So, Monday rolls around, my nanny is deputy clerk of the court. Every police officer in 14 counties knows my nanny. And I knew it. I was arrogant about it. Stop me, I ain't write the ticket. I don't get in and throw it out, write it, waste the paper. I tell them that. So, but anyway, so I get home from school that phone rang. Mama said, Nanny wants to speak to you. I said, what? She said, can you come up the hill for a minute? I said, yes, ma'am. So I walked across the field that man. I come in. She said, did you see Herman Vick this weekend? I said, no, ma'am. And then she turned around and stove. She said, I asked you, did you see Herman Vick this weekend? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, you want to explain to me what happened? I said, I was late, and I didn't have time to mess with him with you. My nanny says, here's the deal. She said, I'll get you over speed ticket, but I ain't going to get you over running the law. She said, you're on your own now. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, don't do it again. Around Lunenburg County, we were famous for running the law at times. And you just, and thank God we didn't have cell phones. Good God, we'd all still be in prison. I know I would. It's just things you don't talk about. So, yeah, there's certain stories we ain't gonna tell because it might be some laws or something. I know, but I don't want to offend people because that would probably offend a couple people in there way. I don't want to offend them.